The sea was a restless thing, a grey beast gnawing at the shores of Hrafnsvik. Its waves whispered secrets to the stones, singing of drowned men and lost ships. The people of Hrafnsvik knew these songs. They heard them in the wind and the cries of the gulls. The sea gave them fish and took their sons, a bargain made of salt and bone. Above, the ravens watched, black specks against a sky the colour of old iron. They perched on the longhouses, silent, their eyes like chips of obsidian. These were not ordinary birds, their silence was a heavy omen. The air thickened with a sense of waiting, as if something was coming on the tide. Mist crept from the water, swallowing the shoreline and muffling the world in grey silence. It clung to the dragon heads of the longships, making them look like sleeping beasts. The mist made the familiar world strange, hiding paths and blurring faces. Children did not play by the water. Dogs didn't bark. There was only the sound of the sea and the silent watch of the ravens. The elders felt unease in their bones. Fishermen saw it in the tide. A shadow stretched toward Hrafnsvik, a cold dread seeping into the heart of the village. It was the feeling of a story beginning, a king, a bargain, and the terrible cost of a promise. The sun was a weak promise, its light barely piercing the fog over Hrafnsvik. Smoke curled from turf roofs, mixing with the sharp scent of salt and drying fish. The village woke, as it always had, women stoking fires, children murmuring, men checking their tools. Every day was a battle against the sea, the cold and hunger. The sounds of life grew, axes splitting wood, cows lowing, a blacksmith's hammer ringing. Each person had their place, fishermen, farmers, hunters. They were bound by necessity, blood, and shared stories. But this dawn was different. The usual sounds were muted, hesitant. Laughter was quieter, greetings brief, eyes darting toward the sea. The fog was a wall, hiding the horizon and trapping the village. The silence of the ravens weighed on their spirits. They went about their tasks, but their minds were elsewhere. They listened, watched, and waited for the mist to reveal its secret. Fear crept through the village, unspoken but everywhere. The people of Hrafnsvik sensed change on the wind, and they feared what the day would bring. In his workshop, Sigvar carved, the scent of pine and cedar thick in the air. His hands shaped fierce dragon heads for ships, knotwork for chests, and small gods for luck. Sigvar did not trust kings or jarls. Power, he believed, was a poison. He put his faith in things he could touch, an axe, a knife, a good piece of wood. Today he carved a wolf, head thrown back, muscles tense, teeth bared. It was a creature of freedom, bowing to no master. He listened to the village's whispers, the mist, the ravens, the unease. Fear made people foolish, desperate for a leader to save them. Sigvar knew the price of a king's promise was always freedom. His father's words echoed, "An oath is a chain you forge for yourself. Be careful who you hand the other end to." Sigvar looked at the wolf, fierce, independent, everything a king was not. He believed his people should be like the wolf, not subjects to a crown. The village's fear angered him, but he kept carving. The wolf was his answer to the coming storm. In the silence, Sigvar's resolve hardened. He would not kneel, not for any king. A horn blast echoed from the sea, a deep, mournful cry that tore through the fog. The village froze, all eyes turning to the water. The sound came again, joined by the beat of a drum, a pulse of dread. Out of the mist, a ship emerged, black as a raven's wing, shields dark and unmarked. Its prow was a massive, snarling raven, wings spread, beak open in a silent scream. The ship drove toward shore, its black sail taut, warriors standing motionless on deck. They wore black mail and leather, faces grim, hands on sword hilts. Their silence was more menacing than any war cry. At the mast stood a man in a cloak of raven feathers, helm shaped like a raven's skull. Eric the Black, Eric the Oathbreaker, the Raven King. It was said he commanded ravens, never lost a battle, bargained with dark spirits. As the ship grounded, his warriors leaped into the shallows with chilling efficiency. The people of Hrafnsvik knew the shadow had arrived. It had a name, and it had come for them. The village held its breath. The story had truly begun. Eric strode through the village, his raven skull helm under one arm, eyes cold and sharp. His warriors formed a silent perimeter. No resistance would be tolerated. He stopped before the great hall, the village. Eirik's voice was calm, yet it carried. People of Hrafnsvik, you are strong, but alone. The world is full of wolves. He offered a bargain, swear loyalty, and he would give them safety, riches, and power. No raider will touch a shore protected by the Raven King. My ships will carry your goods, your warriors will fight beside mine. All I ask is your oath. The words hung in the cold air. Safety, riches, power. For people who had known little of any, it was a tempting offer. Eirik smiled thinly. You have until the next high tide to decide. Choose wisely. The world does not offer such chances twice. The villagers were left with a choice that would define their fate. The promise was seductive, but the cost was hidden. The king's bargain was a trap, and the village stood on its edge. The silence after his speech was heavy with dread. Eirik returned to his ship, leaving the village to tear itself apart. The ravens watched, silent and knowing. The fate of Hrafnsvik hung in the balance. The bargain was set. The price would soon be paid. The Raven King's offer split Hrafnsvik in two. Arguments erupted, whispers in long houses, heated debates in the open. The village, once united, became a nest of suspicion and discord. Bjorn, an old warrior, led those who saw wisdom in Eirik's offer. Is pride worth more than our children's lives? He asked. Many nodded, tired and afraid. Opposing him was Sigvar, who declared, he offers a shield, but it is the wall of a cage. What value is an oath from an oathbreaker? Younger warriors rallied to Sigvar, refusing to kneel. The division deepened, friendships frayed, families fractured. Old grudges surfaced, cloaked in the language of loyalty or freedom. The village was eating itself from within. On the black ship, the ravens watched and the Raven King waited. He did not need swords to conquer. Words were enough. The poison of the bargain spread. Hrafnsvik was already falling. The king's victory had begun. As the sun set, a new whisper spread, a tale of the Raven King's justice, the Blood Eagle. It was said this was the fate of those who defied or betrayed Eirik. The ritual was a nightmare. Ribs severed, lungs pulled out, a death designed to terrify. The story infected the village, fear growing with every retelling. Bjorn's faction grew more fervent. Is your pride worth such an end? Think of your families. Fear became a choking thing, more powerful than pride. For Sigvar's followers, the story was proof of Eirik's monstrous nature. This is not a leader, but a butcher, Sigvar roared. We will not bow to a king who carves his laws on the backs of men. The Blood Eagle did not unite the village in fear. It solidified the battle lines. The choice was now starker than ever. Kneel and risk betrayal, or stand and face the monster. The village braced for the coming storm. The night was thick with dread. The tide turned, the sea advancing as the horn blast signaled Hrafnsvik's decision. On the beach, the village stood divided. Bjorn's group ready to swear, Sigvar's warriors prepared to fight. Eirik descended from his ship with his elite warriors, a cruel smile on his lips. He welcomed Bjorn's group. Swear your loyalty and you will be my people. One by one they knelt, swearing the oath on a black shield. Then Eirik turned to Sigvar's band. You have chosen poorly. His warriors moved, not against Sigvar, but against those who had just sworn loyalty. The betrayal was swift and brutal. Axes fell on the newly sworn. Bjorn was among the first to die, disbelief on his face. Sigvar and his warriors charged in fury, but they were too few. The battle was chaos, a slaughter. The Raven King had never intended to honor his promise. The oath was a tool to identify the compliant, the weak. The price of the oath was death. The price of defiance was also death. The bargain had only one outcome. Hrafnsvik was lost. The fighting ended as darkness fell, the sea lapping at a blood-stained shore. The beach was a graveyard. Villagers and warriors alike lay dead. Sigvar fell among the last, his axe buried in an enemy's chest. Eirik stood over the carnage, victorious but diminished. He turned to his ship, his warriors gathering their dead in silence. They did not loot or burn, they simply left. The survivors, women, children, old men, emerged to a world destroyed. They did not rebuild. They scattered, carrying their grief and the story. The tale of the Raven King's bargain became a warning, not a song of glory. It was told around fires, a dark lesson about kings and promises. It taught that fear can make you kneel, and kneeling can be as fatal as standing tall. The saga honored Sigvar's defiance, but mostly served as a grim reminder. Beware the bargains of kings in feathered cloaks. An oath is a chain. Be careful who holds the other end. The sea had brought a king and taken everything away.